Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Tai'Shar, a Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Will,
I'm Sam.
and today we are continuing on in the Great Hunt, and it is a great hunt indeed. I want to remind you before we get started that you can always support our podcast by going to our website, gsmpodcast.com, clicking on the little yellow donate button at the top left and offering a few bucks. Any little bit helps. And, hey, even if you don't want to donate, we're glad you're here. So thank you for joining us today. Hope you enjoy this episode, which Sam is going to be handling the narrative for. So Sam, why don't you kick us off as we are finishing up the Great Hunt?
Yeah, sure. Chapter 44, 5 will ride forth. Perrin and Matt are kind of sort of disguised in clothes they found in the village. This village is less abandoned, but the people don't want to talk to them. Huron says Fane's trail makes a mere drawl smell like roses. He says he was alone. Last he smelled. Smells violence from months ago, and Matt observes that the Shan-Chan don't need a reason for killing. They hear people shouting and figure it's a Shan-Chan, but nope, white cloaks. Good enough reason to leave anyway, so they do. Perrin asks the local
It's like
wolves.
the second worst people.
Yeah, all the people that we don't want to be around here, same place.
Yeah.
Perrin asks the local wolves if the white cloaks are in pursuit, and they say nope. They set out to find Fane's trail again, but maybe more carefully this time. It would be nice to be able to ask the local wolves, local wolves, is there traffic on my drive home today? Just go check for me real quick.
You treat the wolves like Siri,
Yes, more intelligent than Siri. Yeah, or Alexa. Alexa has been making me angry lately. Care how many times Bezos goes to space. Alexa's awful. Switch to Jeffrey Bornhold, who recognizes Perrin hightailing it out of town. He tells his troops to lock the villagers in the inn with supplies. Figures the Aes Sedai are on the Shan-Chan side, not just the Damani channelers. Tells Bayar to observe the next fight and not take part. Carry a word to Jeffrem's kid if something happens. Then ride for Amador and tell Pedro Nile about the Shan-Chan and the Aes Sedai threat. Bayar says Perrin will tell the Shan-Chan about the White Cloaks because he's a dark friend. Swap to Rand, who is practicing sword forms. Everybody's tense because Matt, Huron, and Perrin haven't gotten back. They do get back and say Fane is in Falma. Also White Cloaks. Ingtar says, great, maybe they'll distract the Shan-Chan. Varian says, good thing it took us so long to get here. The pattern knew what it was doing. Ingtar says he will take Huron and some soldiers in to take back the horn and the dagger. Matt, Rand, and Perrin tag along. Varian says Loyal would stand out like a sore thumb, and she can't go because of the Damani who would identify her. This refers to the Carithian, the K-word cycle. 5 ride forth, 4 return. Above the watchers shall he proclaim himself, bannered across the sky in fire. The 5 set out, and the others will follow at a discreet distance. So, Chapter 45, Blade Master. Nynaeve, Min, and Elaine are getting ready to free Egwene. They see a Damani and Soldam, which makes Nynaeve angry just by thinking about Damani being leashed, and Egwene in particular. So she channels and opens the collar of the Damani. And this particular Damani is not a loyal one, and punches the Soldam in the face and runs away. Always love it when somebody gets punched in the face like this. Just great. So they drag the Soldam into a shed. None of the locals try to stop them because, of course they don't. They bind the Soldam up, and Nynaeve puts on the forked lightning dress, puts the bracelet on her wrist and the neck brace on the Soldam. She can feel what the Soldam is feeling, even though the Idam is only supposed to work on women who can channel. Yeah, the other woman laughs, and Nynaeve figures out how to make her feel pain. Nynaeve stops and realizes she's not going to make Elaine wear that thing, so she decides to use the Soldam as a decoy Damani, and Elaine will pretend to be a servant. She says no one really looks at Damani anyway, so they'll be okay. They head toward the building where the other Damani are stabled. Quick swap to Bail Doman, who says to a crewmate he won't sail until those women are on board.
I appreciate Doman, but it's kind of like, why does he feel such loyalty to
sure. I was thinking the same thing, actually. Like, yeah, why not? If you're just so worried about it, just leave. Like, they'll find another taxi. Like,
yeah,
that's a fair point. It's just it's a little bit strange.
I mean, I guess you could argue that. I mean, part of the thing that motivated him to want to leave with them specifically is that they could channel, and so he's thinking that
maybe
they can
give him a better shot of actually running the gauntlet and getting away,
right?
Whereas he thought maybe he couldn't get away at all by himself. Yeah, that's probably it. I would just always figure he's a pirate with a heart of gold.
Yep. he do be a simple trader.
Mm-hmm. Now on to our boy Rand. Gotta fight that boss, but mini boss first. Stables his horse and leaves the dragon banner with it. Kieran leads them on Fane's trail, but it's hard to tell from new since Fane has been in Falma for a while. They see Damani and frog bears. Rand and Kieran try not to stare at the Grom because, they fought them before in another world. Hi, Lord Turok's house. I did personally prefer Turok 2 Seeds of Evil. It actually had split screen multiplayer. The first one did not, which was, although it was not as fun as a GoldenEye, was occasionally a good time thanks to the cerebral bore, which would launch a drill at people's heads.
Nice. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird because it was about dinosaurs, but there were aliens. I don't know. Good time.
Sure.
Yeah. Kieran says Fane has been there, and Matt says the dagger is in there too. So Ingtar says, we got to go get in there. Suggests going around to the gardens at the back. Says there's only one guard, so they kill and hide the dude, go in the house, and a single servant sees them and runs. Matt leads them to a room where the horn and dagger are. Ingtar says, by the light, I am saved. Rand looks out the window and sees Egwene in the Damani rooms. Surely it can't be her, right? Is what everyone tells him. Turok and Sean Chan show up. Turok says, of course I expected Fane to betray me and steal the horn back, but I will kill you folks instead. So a soldier reaches for the horn, and Matt stabs him with a Shader Logoth dagger, which turns the dude into like black charcoal. Not good.
Yeah. That description is very disturbing.
Yes.
Like the way, he's like bloated, black, nasty. Yeah, just like yikes.
Not how you want to go. Poor random Sean Chan soldier. Like, you may have been a bit racist and awful, but you didn't deserve to go that way.
Right. And then I love how like Ingtar, everybody's looking at it like, what in the world?
Right,
and then Ingtar is just like, so you see, we're not going to be easy meat. Like he had anything to do with that. Right. Like he's just as surprised.
He's just as like kind of grossed out and weirded out, but hey, he's on our side.
Yeah, I just picture him like holding back the vomit. Like, so so you see.
That's what's going to happen to you. So they all kind of have a melee, and Rand steps up to fight Turok because Turok sees he also has the hair-marked blade. Yeah, so this is the fight we were talking about the last episode, briefly in the spoilery section. Short fight, honestly a little disappointing. Turok is a blade master, but Rand has, I was thinking here, Taviran plot armor. Kills him even without sighting. I like your headcanon description that maybe the portal stones.
Right. Yeah. We talked about it in the spoiler section because
true.
we hadn't gotten to it yet. So if you avoided the spoiler section, then it was just to not spoil this part, I guess, really.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Although I think we did spoil other things.
Yeah.
Incidentally. So don't go back and listen.
Yeah. Don't go back and listen. But one of the things we talked about was this idea that it is totally headcanon because it's not explicit in the text, but I really would love it if they expounded upon this in the show. This idea, and it's not original with me, I read it somewhere online, having lived all these lives, that really all the characters that went through the portal stones should have knowledge and therefore possibly skills that they might not otherwise be able to account for. Sam had pointed out, like, in the show, they could really use this just by calling back to some of the memories maybe that we saw in the Portal Stone episode.
Yeah, that could be pretty epic. Like blow for blow, as like Turok lands a blow, he could have a flashback to when he was in the Queen's Guard and fighting Shan-Chan or something. And,
exactly. Yeah.
That could be cool. Definitely would be more satisfying than the literal text we get here, at least.
Yes.
So kills Turok without Saidin. Servants all kill themselves, saying, "From birth to death, I serve the blood." The others come back, and they all leave. And even though Rand insists he needs to save Egwene, vows to come back. For now, they've got the dagger in the horn, at least. So, chapter 46, to come out of the shadow. Nynaeve and company approach the Damani stables. Min goes in first, goes up to the 4th floor to Egwene's room. Egwene says, "You're so beautiful, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." And they free her. Yeah, it's a pretty touching moment. She's had this awful experience. Her friends come free her, let her change into Nynaeve's old dress. Nynaeve puts the Eidam bracelet on a peg, leaving the Soldam leashed, who begs to be let free, says she won't say a word. Egwene says Suldam are women who can learn to channel but aren't born with a spark in them. I almost wrote all spark there. I've been watching way too much Transformers cartoons with my kids on Netflix. There are a lot of those, actually. There's like 4 or 5 different Transformers cartoons on Netflix right now.
Roll out.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny how Optimus is in all of them, but sometimes just as like a host. I don't know, he just like kind of starts things off, and then it's like, okay, now Bumblebee, you take over. Anyway, Rena walks in. Egwene chucks a water pitcher at her and then leashes her. Then she tries to strangle her. I mean, who wouldn't?
That's, very satisfying,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Nynaeve stops her, like, it's not worth it. Egwene cries. They leave the 2 Suldam leashed, kind of poetic irony there. Oops, a bunch of soldiers outside, though, so Egwene's not really in the best state of mind, so causes the earth to erupt, kind of doing away with the idea of subtlety here. Then a Damani somewhere else kind of starts throwing fireballs at them, to which Nynaeve responds with lightning. Switch to Bail Doman briefly, who is barely able to convince his crew to stay. Says, "Hurry, women, Aes Sedai, or whatever you be. Hurry." I'm picturing Hagrid here. Hagrid as a pirate. I don't know. Bornhald watches the lightning, sends Byre away, and then the children march toward Falma. Back to Rand. He and Ingtar are trying to avoid the Shan-Chan and by themselves. Then Ingtar confesses to basically just kind of gives it all up. He says he was the one who led up the Gray Man into Faldara. Says, "I didn't want to do it, but I had to. I didn't know he was going to shoot that arrow. I still don't know if it was meant for the Amerlin or you." Say, "What now?" He says, "It seemed the only way. There are dark friends everywhere. The blight advances. The borderlands would be destroyed for nothing. Why not make peace instead? So if you can't beat him, join him?" I don't think that applies to like cannibalistic monsters, bro.
This is interesting, and I like this moment. The whole way it's handled in the book, the way he confesses it, and some of his justification makes sense, but yeah, you're right. It's a little bit like, I need a little more from this guy who doesn't seem, other than just being obsessed, like maybe a little too obsessed with getting the horn.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I don't know. I want them to figure out how to convince me a little better in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a pretty good scene. It is like, I was surprised the first time I read it.
I was totally surprised.
Yeah, didn't like on a reread. Sure, there are signs, but I just missed them. So I think that it could be a pretty cool moment in the show, especially if Ingtar is set up as this kind of wise older leader kind of role model for Rand. Like, it's a pretty cool,
right? Yeah, that he's kind of in lieu of having particularly like Lan,
right? Yeah, Lan, who's just not around in this book, in this part of the book at least. Yeah,
that he's kind of picking up that
which does beg the question for me a little bit. If they are going to have Moiraine leave,
right?
You could certainly have Moiraine and Lan be here for this whole thing, and I don't think it would, like, you could pretty much like drop her in where Varen is, or even have Varen there too, but like It seems like that they'll probably do that.
Yeah, it seems likely because
I mean, they're not going to sideline Rosamund Pike for half the season.
And we haven't gotten any Varen casting news, so
right. So it's probably safe to say that like all of Varen's lines in some way will be Moiraine's instead.
Essentially, yeah.
And maybe that's the reason we haven't gotten a Varen. Maybe we still will in a future season, but
you got to get a Varen.
Yeah.
You can I could see it them waiting on including her in the show.
Right. So Rand realizes Ingtar is a dark friend now. That or he's tripping on shrooms or something. Saying all kinds of crazy stuff. Says he wishes to walk in the light again. Tells Rand to go take the horn where it belongs while he fights the Shan-Chan. Give Rand a chance to escape, go out in a blaze of glory, hopefully redeem his soul. Rand says, the light shine on you, Lord Ingtar of House Shinoa, and may you shelter in the palm of the Creator's hand. The last embrace of the mother welcome you home. Gonna be epic.
Yeah.
So
and I love, they describe like Huron's reaction to this because he didn't catch all the rest. He just hears Rand saying, may the last embrace of the mother welcome you home, which is like, all right, you're dead.
You're gonna die. Yeah, you're definitely.
And so Huron's like, oh dang, what did I miss?
Oh snap!
Yeah.
Chapter 47. The grave is no bar to my call. Let's go.
Yes.
Yes. So Rand and Huron meet back up with Mat, Perrin, the Shanarans, and Loyal. Rand tells them Ingtar sacrificed himself so they could get away. No need to tell them Ingtar was a dark friend at this point. All right, Rand thinks dark friend or no, he was my friend, and he sacrificed himself. So
yeah,
it says I got to go rescue Egwene, take the horn to Varen. Mat says we aren't leaving you, and while they argue, some of those Shan-Chan bug soldiers show up. Oh, and white cloaks from the other side. Whoopsie. How will our heroes get out of this pickle?
This does feel like a radio serial cliffhanger moment.
Yeah,
will the boys make it out of the suburb?
You can next time. Certainly see that being the end of an episode. Like, the end of like, I don't know, the episode before the climax, before the, not necessarily the second to last episode, but maybe like the third to last episode, like the end of.
Right.
I don't know. They're compressing things. It might be the end of the second to last.
Yeah.
So Mat says, has to be at the last battle. Nothing says it can't be used before then. Nothing says it can't. And toots the horn of Valier. So swap to Bornhald, who orders the White Cloaks to charge and is killed. Oh my god. Wow, that was great. White Cloaks, just super useful. And glad we had lots of White Cloak narrative throughout this book of like building to this thing, and then they just get slaughtered.
There's stuff later on in the series that I feel like is an attempt to justify all that.
Oh yeah, like with but yeah, it is like it just at this point it's like wah wah wah.
Yeah.
So while confusing at times, this next part is amongst the most epic / iconic fights in all of the books.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. Super cool. So back to Rand. Fog creeps up around our heroes, and then Falma floats below Rand for some reason. This whole section just reads like a bit of a fever dream. Like I'm with Adelius and Vandine when whichever one says this part of the prophecies had like a confusing translation. The reality is confusing too, Vandine or Adelius. It's like Rand is the player of a real-time strategy game now, complete with Fog of War. He can even see Bail Doman on his ship, sees the heroes of the Horn riding toward them, and all the greats, Rogosh, Eagle-Eye, Gaidal, Cain, Birgitta, Silverbow, Mike of the Pure Heart. Correct. Auto-corrected.
This is Mike of the Pure Heart.
I auto-corrected Mickle to Mike, so I do like Mike, though. Yeah. Yo, Mikey! What up? All of them are led by Arthur Hawkwing, who carries a sword called Justice, which is an excellent name for a sword.
Right.
Although there are like 100 of them, they are enough to get the job done.
This has to be incredible. And the whole idea of these people start walking out of the clouds who everybody immediately, even though, photography doesn't exist, they immediately recognize them.
They are,
as these epic heroes that they've heard about through stories their whole life.
Yeah,
and
heroes of the Horn baseball cards.
Right. And that's why I say I want distracting cameos.
Yeah, sure.
In this.
Cool. That would be cool.
I want just the most ridiculous. If they don't get Sean Bean for Luz Theron,
there you go.
He's got to be
Arthur Hawkwing.
Hawkwing. Yeah,
I like that.
Something like that.
That would be really cool if they did that.
Which would actually be a great anti-Sean Bean role.
I know. That probably would appeal to him.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
When they're meeting with listen, if you've read the books, Ingtar has already been cast. You don't have to worry.
Yeah. I mean,
Sean.
Right. But I'm just thinking, man, it would be so cool if even all these other Rogosh Eagle Eye and everything were all if not names, at least well-known character actors that you immediately oh, that guy and that guy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love that.
A little bit like having the classic Loki played by that guy.
Right. Yeah.
That guy, and you're oh, it's that guy, that kind of thing. And I
know that they've avoided Game of Thrones actors in the show for the most part. Here's your chance just to get all that out of your system. Just
yeah, exactly. That would be great.
Harrington and a couple of those folks.
And it's what it needs to be the Anchorman 2 Rumble scene.
right.
It's Liam Neeson needs to be one of them, and
Owen Wilson.
Wow, and just randomly
Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn definitely needs to be Gaidal Cain. Actually, you need to. I mean, Gaidal Cain's supposed to be incredibly ugly. That's actually. Right. So what
Danny
actor?
DeVito, probably.
Danny DeVito. Actually, he's way too handsome. Isn't that the meme that he's
right, for
actually really, really handsome or whatever?
Right.
No, but that would actually be hilarious if Danny DeVito played Gaidal Cain. Anyway.
Come on, Bezos. You're the richest man in the world. You can afford to get...
Right.
If you can go to space, you can get Danny DeVito to be Gaidal Cain.
Yeah, this scene has to be epic. It's a tall order, but man, they've got to get this one right. This is this is really the first really great battle scene of several.
Yeah, that's funny how the first book didn't really have an big epic battle scene.
I mean, it has the scene, the weird that's the first fever dream,
right? But it's Rand is adjacent to that, and none of the other people we care about are there, right?
Right, exactly. And it seems kind of it's
just
peripheral,
not the main point. Yep.
Yeah.
So Hawkwing says we can only follow you if everything is in place. So Rand digs out the dragon banner. Hawkwing says the pattern weaves itself around our necks like halters. You are here. The banner is here. The weave of this moment is set. We have come to the horn, but we must follow the banner and the dragon. So Perrin puts the banner on a pole, and Matt gives the horn another toot, and off they pop. Then Rand kind of teleports or something. So now he's riding through the mist alone, but can still see everybody and Falma. Time for a boss fight in the clouds with Baalzamon, who is not dead yet. Rand is thrown from his horse, can see the heroes fighting the Shan-Chan alongside his friends, reaches for Saidin as Baalzamon taunts him about Egwene and turning him to the dark side of the Force. He assumes incorrectly that Rand was the one who sounded the horn. Rand realizes his battle with Baalzamon is linked to his friends fighting the Shan-Chan with the heroes. When he attacks, they do. When he stumbles, the Shan-Chan advance. B says, "No one can save you but me." So Rand assumes the position, Heron waiting in the rushes. Kind of picture that. Leaves him open to attack. He says, "I will never serve you in 1,000 lives. I haven't, and I never will." He just found out.
Right.
Time to die. So Baalzamon stabs Rand in the side with a spear, but Rand stabs him back in the heart. Chapter 48, First Claim. Min perspective. She's looking for Egwene. Nynaeve, Elaine sees Birgitta shoot a Shan-Chan ship. Sees Arthur Hawkwing. Not a bad day for sightseeing, really. Stumbles across Rand in a garden. He's passed out. Throws away his half-melted sword, notices that the heron from the hilt has branded his palm, lifts his shirt to find a cauterized wound cold as ice, drags him to the building and puts him in a bed, climbs in with him to warm him up. While he's unconscious, she talks to him and confesses her feelings. So then Egwene finds them like that. Oops. Egwene says, he can't get married, right? He isn't safe. Min says, "Speak for yourself. You tossed him aside for the tower. What do you care if I pick him up?" That shuts Egwene up and she leaves. Lanfear shows up too, says he doesn't believe yet. I have guided and pushed him. He was always stubborn, but this time I will shape him. Ishmael thinks he controls events, but I do. She tells Min that Luz Theron is hers and leaves. Chapter 49, What Was Meant to Be. Rand makes up to Min. She tells him they've traveled away from Falma. Egwene, Nynaeve, Elaine, Kieran, Matt, and Varen have left for Tarvalin. Also, the wound in his side can't be fully healed. Then Moraine shows up. Girl, where you been? Pulling a regular Gandalf on us lately with the Disappearing Act.
I have stuff to do.
Yeah, important stuff. Rand tells her that he killed Baalzamon. Moraine hands him a sketch drawn of him fighting Bee in the clouds over Falma.
I feel like also it's like, yeah, sure you did, buddy.
Right. Says everybody saw that craziness. Also, here are 2 seals on the Dark One's prison that have been broken, both from High Lord Turok's house. Makes 3 broken, so that 4 more Dragon Balls left to hunt down before they can make a wish. Fight the Dark One. Moraine and Min help Rand out of bed and down to the camp. Loyal, Perrin, and the soldiers are there. Ask why the dragon banner is out. Dude, everybody saw you fighting in the clouds. Banner or not, you're kind of famous now. Like Royal in the UK tabloids famous. So not necessarily a good thing. Definitely not a good thing. The Shi'Naran soldiers swear an oath to follow Rand. So chapter 50 after. So this is one of those rumor chapters that
yes. No, it blah, blah, blah.
Yes,
no, it blah,
Jordan
blah, blah.
has done this more than once, and we'll do it again. About Falma this time, 1,000 bordermen fought. No, 1,000 heroes out of legend. 10,000. They destroyed a legion of White Cloaks. They threw Hawkwing's army back into the sea. They were Hawkwing's army. The only thing every rumor had in common was that a man was seen in the sky over Falma under the banner of the Dragon Reborn. So then I had a note here. I wanted to read the end quote because it's pretty epic. And men cried out to the Creator, saying, O light of the heavens, light of the world, let the promised one be born in the mountains, according to the prophecies, as he was in ages past, and will be in ages to come. Let the Prince of the Morning sing to the land that green things will grow, and the valleys will give forth lambs. Let the arm of the Lord of the Dawn shelter us from the dark, and the great sword of justice defend us. Let the dragon ride again on the winds of time. Just always loved that line. So from Chiral, Jiraiya, Nente, Kalamon, the cycle of the dragon, and from the Fourth Age. Quote from the Fourth Age there. Mm-hmm. The end of the book. And that takes us to the end of the Great Hunt.
Yes.
Crazy.
We made it. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Once again, we're going to be taking off through Labor Day weekend. We'll see. Yeah. So we're going to take off a few weeks and kind of stretch our legs, take a breather. We'll be back at it with, isn't Winter's Heart next?
It is indeed, yes.
Yes. Yeah, I have to say, having gotten through Path of Daggers, I'm really looking forward to all the books we have left.
Me too. Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a lot of fun. Winter's Heart is still sloggy, but it's going to be fun. Yeah. You've
got a lot of stuff that happens. And then Crossroads of Twilight, still also very sloggy.
Until the ending is epic, it makes up for it.
So you've got some important stuff that is happening. So join us for that if that's where you are in the series. If not, you can hop back to the beginning of our archive and find...
Which will direct you here to to these episodes of us doing Great Hunt and Eye of the World.
Not quite that far back, but yes, you can go back and find our...
Wherever you are. We've done the books to that point.
Yes, so go back, find whichever book you're on.
For sure.
So anyway... As always, we want to remind you that we love hearing from you guys. So either email us or visit our website at tsmpodcast.com, fill out our contact form. And, if you have some interesting questions or corrections, valid criticisms, then we may answer them on the show. I say we may. We will. We will definitely. As long as we get them, we will talk about them in our next mailbag, off-topic, show update episode, whichever comes first. Guys, thanks so much for listening. And until next time, Tai'Shar Manethrin.